Hello, hello. We are live. Testing out streaming on YouTube and see how it goes, I guess. I discovered that finding live streams on YouTube is actually possible in a consistent way, but it's like it's not like readily available as compared to Twitch, so it's a little, different, but it's possible. I'm thinking about because I found like this Amori stream with only like 2 viewers that's live right now, for example. So yeah, it's possible to find streams of obscure games and stuff on YouTube. I might have to check that out on my own free time and check other people's streams, but yeah. Anyway, we're just gonna be playing some indie games. I'm not sure how much I have. I have like a couple games prepared. Not sure how long it'll take to get through them, but we'll see. Make sure everything's set up correctly and all, because this is... I don't stream on YouTube very often, so yeah. Okay, anyway. Let me get the game up. This is a visual novel. Oh, that is very loud. Turn it down. Do like that. Okay. Capture CHIRK. Does that work? Yes. There we go. I don't know what this is about at all. I just heard about it from this server I'm in. Wonder if I should post this stream to that server. Yeah, why not? Okay. Is this live? Does it show on my YouTube channel? Because I know I got like a bunch of subscribers from... Yeah, it does. I got a bunch of subscribers from just that, not a lot, but I got from the Toho videos I uploaded to my channel. I don't know. I wonder if people would unsubscribe if I just started doing lives more frequently. I wonder if people even get notifications for it. Who knows? Okay, well, let's just jump into the game, I guess. But what do I don't know what to expect. ASARCD? Asar? No, that's an O. Asarco? Oh. Start. 2. Your teeth? Or their teeth? Untie, untie. I like the little sound or description. The menu is like super interesting. I don't know what any of this means. Like this. I know. This is our main menu button. This is the dialogue history. Load. Well, this one makes sense. It's a spiral going backwards, counterclockwise. I guess this is exit. Twist, twist. Morning routine. Little snoot just peeking out. Dry, dry, tuck, tuck. Tie, squeeze. Tie. Stuff. Yeah. What does that say? Yeah, stuff. Chapter 1. Pitcher was born to a world of mold, roaches, bug bites, bottles, blood. A ritualistic habit, Pitcher sits upright, sleeping in her bed, waiting for something to register that kickstarts her heart and head into action. Usually the sound of a door closing, followed by the sound of an engine. So we are Pitcher. Yeah, I love NP. You can just scroll and go back to previous dialogue. We are Pitcher, or at least we're observing Pitcher. Within seconds, she is up and on the bicycle, teeth brushed, hair neat, and face washed. Backpack hopefully not forgotten. Pitcher pulls off this feat at 6:30 in the morning, 5 times a week. Got a grade schooler. I ride across broken sidewalks and one-way through fairs that people pass through both ways. Construction golems feigning work, and the elderly, eyes open and wide, trying to micromanage the last of their days by sitting on porches, smoking Pall Malls, and glaring outwards, making up for a lifetime of ignored time and lost memories. It's a little hard to read with the white on white. Lots of white and gray here, but droll life. There is a particular type of stillness in the mornings and a real sense of disquiet in the hush. The world is waiting, anticipating for someone else to start before it moves. Usually dappled sun shines plucked through the clouds, clearing the tension before anyone else can jump on it. By the time I get to school, the anticipation follows me still. The sun is not yet visible. I am the center of my own universe. The air is cold and bitter on the way to school. I hate shivering. Switched from observing to I guess we are Fisher. Or at least we're playing from the perspective of Fisher. But now, okay, we switched back to a third person. The perspective isn't consistent, but that's fine. She pulls up to an ugly brick building, locks her bike, and heads to the double-doored entrance. She opens the door and closes it quickly behind her, tunnel-visioned away from another student she's never seen before, walking in after, effectively slamming a stranger's head into steel in an effort to save herself from being mildly uncomfortable for a second more. I feel that. I used to do that. Nowadays I try to hold doors open for people behind me, but sometimes I can't be bothered and I would still it's whatever. They can handle the door themselves. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Wham. Ow. Ow. It's okay, I'm fine. The stranger clutches her head for a few seconds and stands up. And he actually hit her. Stares forward, looking Fitcher in the eyes with an intense nothing. And continues walking down at her shoes. Looking down at her shoes and up through the hallway until she's out of sight. Arms still on her sides, unmoving with each step in a particular gait. Fitcher watches her through all her movements. The girl is particularly pretty in a way that Fitcher has a hard time describing or understanding. There's just something different about her. Fitcher thought she smelled good. Maybe you should reach out. This is the conclusion that she came to. Ah, that's it. That makes sense. Puff. She mumbled it to herself, softly striking her fist into her other hand in a display of discovery, and walked to the cafeteria. First period wouldn't start for another hour. Each second until the warning bell rang, she thought about the stranger. Conclusion did she come up with? In the class, she sat down, unzipped her backpack, pulled out a notebook and a pencil, opened the notebook, and stopped paying attention to whatever the teacher was saying, sleeping upright, waiting for some dialogue cue subconsciously. A slacking sleeper agent, pencil in hand, never writing. Around 15 minutes after class began, another teacher brought in a new student who couldn't find her class. They said she had been crying, but she breathed very carefully, trying not to feign a stutter in her breathing. Puffing, calming down, face still breathless. Teacher pointed towards the back of the classroom and told the new student to take a seat. Teacher thought to herself, how lucky. Girl who smells good is near me. As continued, Teacher kept watching the new student, who hadn't been introduced yet. It's as if she were not even there. Truancy be damned. Teacher felt a small little burn in her body whenever she looked side-eyed towards the new student. No? The new student pulled out an unremarkable notebook, the name Finch written on it. She never wrote a word. Classmates began packing up their things. The bell rang. Hold on. Wait a minute. Show me your schedule. I'll take you around. What's your name? Did you just get here? Finch. Fitcher already knew this. Finch kept looking forward, falling slightly in step behind Fitcher, following, watching how other students moved and spoke. I was born in Connecticut. He just moved because of my dad's job. Fitcher kept peeking back to steal glances and make sure that she wasn't getting swept up in between other students. She made a noise of confirmation that she was in fact listening. Well, Missy, you're in good company here. Stick to me and we'll be well on our way towards what exactly? Fitcher didn't know. She'd like to know. Towards the end of the day. No more getting lost, right? Didn't you get here at the same time as me? I wandered around, just kind of watching, looking at people, waiting for a cue or someone to tell me where to go. Not really thinking of much. I lost track of time and the room numbers as well. They don't make sense. So I sat down and cried until someone brought me to class. Aw. Yeah. Waiting for someone to tell you what to do. Just kinda coaxing along. Kinda feel that even to this day. The next bell rang, and the sound of steps faded into the rooms, and the voices in those rooms quelled. Pitcher looked at Finch's schedule, and she knew that God loved her, and her alone. The entire world before her was made to be as good as man could make. What is this schedule? You plus Finch? Whole day. That's a nice schedule. She wanted to hold the new student's hand, but felt weird about it. It'd make navigating easier, but she was keenly aware of her hand sweat now. Girls often touched girls, right? They walked into the next class without problems, and then the next, and then it was lunch. Pitcher couldn't stop staring at Finch. She kept thinking about things she'd never thought of before, feelings of everything and nothing, vague fires burning in definitions she didn't know the words for, total blindside, frustration. Got a little crush. The best she could make sense of was she wanted to bite Finch, but not in a painful way. Schmeat? Finch was meat. Schmeat, to be exact. No, that sounds too feral. Thoughts looped, and every once in a while, the school's rusted air conditioner would blow some Finch towards Pitcher, pressing her fragrance into her. A tiny burn steadily grew. This must be what it's like to make a best friend, Pitcher thought. So strange, so odd. Milk, a programmed and precisely inorganic staple in American culture, rated as good for kids to drum up prices so dairy farmers would make more to feed the troops during World War II. A thing that shouldn't be here, or even drank by people. Right there, chilled. I love milk. But that is true. Milk is it's not even the best source of calcium, but it's paraded as such. Milk is the best though, come on. A wonderful and amazing thing to be made permanent in front of me. A symbol of suburban Americana, rivaled only by cigarettes and cul-de-sacs. And all for free. Pitcher was a big fan of it. Hell yeah. A good musing. Very good. She stared at Pitcher's unopened carton on the tray. The cafeteria, when not in use during the 45-minute block-in, was also the place where the school held gym and school-wide presentations twice a year. Twice per day she had come here, and only one of those was a routinely pleasant experience. Maybe today would make it too. Pitcher ate annoyingly slowly. Or Finch. Pitcher, it's so close. Meek and feeble, not enjoying any particular thing. She ate like a chore. Pitcher disliked eating in groups and the act of eating itself, but this was alright. Finch ate like a proper schoolgirl ought to, a virtue learned that moment by Pitcher. What is she even eating? Got milk and... Is that a burger? What? You're not recycling, Finch? Come on. Proper schoolgirl, huh? Proper schoolgirl would recycle. Pitcher didn't know how to ask for the carton. She watched Finch stand up, a lanky expression of a character articulately mannequin, with her tray, tossing the milk and putting the tray on the stack above the trash can in one jointed movement. Why did she keep moving the carton? A great tragedy subsided only by the gift of watching Finch stretch and look at her with a waiting expression, asking without speaking if she wanted to walk around, staring into Fitcher. Fitcher thought Finch looked especially soft and warm. The air outside had warmed up and became animated. Planes flew overhead, leaving behind white trails, unpleasant brick structures, masking as important locations for community development, education, business lined both where they stood and the outside, cut only by a cheap metal fence and a freeway. Unsaturated and unfinished city planning, incompetent at best, malicious networks of what can be described as the hub made Fitcher have a particular look of discontent whenever she stood outside of the school gates or in her own neighborhood. These are pretty articulate musings for grade schoolers. I'm assuming these are grade schoolers. Rotting houses and empty people would wave and smile when she sat on the gated swing sets, pondering infinity, looking inwards, blankly staring outwards into a totally flat horizon, sun replaced by billboards and fast food signs. Yeah, that sounds like America, alright. The sky was a little brighter today. The sun had been replaced by the person sitting next to her. Aw. Yeah. I love the writing of this. The writing is very, eloquent. Eloquent? It began to become difficult to look at Finch. He sat on the swing sets, lolling back and forth in pensive hang fire. So, what do you do around here? She put her hand to her mouth in contemplation. She had forgotten herself. Sometimes I dig around. I made that hole in the fence that's right in front of us. I usually just hang out between here and there and think. I do a whole lot of thinking. Read? Draw? Kinda. I more or less just vegetate until it's time to go home. And also, until it's time for school. I mean, when you're home. I vegetate in different ways. Yeah, exactly. What do you mean? It's like I'm waiting for something to happen. I don't know how to describe it better. It's like I'm wishing, putting all of my effort into biding my time, but I don't know what or what. I feel like something is gonna happen, and I gotta be prepared for it. Listless. A very listless feeling. Listless. That listless feeling can be overwhelming at times. Like I'm not even bored even. It's like I do things like cut into the backyard side of the neighborhood, climb up and down the trees, skip rocks on ditches. But I'm not doing anything. I'm just buying time until the next day. Is something gonna happen soon? I don't know. It feels like it though. Some great cataclysm, earthquake, a storm of some kind. Like the world's gonna end if I ever stop focusing when I have control. I think you have depression, Fisher. Sounds like me. Waiting on things to happen. You gotta make things happen, you know? Easier said than done. Would you want something to happen? That's a loaded question. That is a very loaded question. Can't ask these things, Finch. Come on. I think so. Yeah. A cloud moved above them, illuminating the blacktop light, casting into Finch's hair. I move a lot due to my dad's work. I think that I never have actually felt like I'm waiting for something. I feel like I'm out there, somewhere, waiting to root, so I can figure out some great universal truth. I don't exist, yet I haven't been born. I'd like to go to college eventually so I can choose where I stay and for how long. I'm just not needed yet. I would like to see the world end. I don't think I can make that happen. Think you could make someone exist instead? Probably. I'd have to figure out how first. The two came to an invisible conclusion, both speaking and hearing, but not really understanding. Why? Gust of wind muted Fitcher. What? I said I'd like to figure out how. Wait. There's no S, there's no Y in that. Did she change what she said? Fitcher felt a knot in her stomach, but didn't know why. A second bitter wind pushed Finch off the swing set when she wasn't paying attention. Finch made a very cute sound when she hit the ground, Fitcher thought. She walked over to help Finch, but she laid there, staring upwards, with no intention to get up. It was like she had been there this entire time. The bell rang. Plastic chains, sweaters, leggings, shampoo, dust, diplomas. 3 more bells rang. I don't think Finch and Fitcher are gonna connect. Each time Fitcher navigated the halls with Finch in tow, pointing at features of the school, names of teachers, teaching how the schedule works. Each time Finch looked at Fitcher and nodding, seemingly grateful but never smiling. Fitcher had a hard time looking Finch directly in the eyes. It felt like her head would explode if she stared too long. A cosmic horror, an anxious spell. Final bell rang, and peers and underclassmen alike began moving as a collective, hurried towards the front door. Front doors, side doors, gates and alleyways, all on their way to go home. Fitcher had gotten used to sitting and waiting for everyone else to leave so she could leisurely ponder her own life status of ennui uninterrupted on the ride home. It wasn't like she had any reason to rush home anyway. Hours after the bell, and after even the staff had gone home, they'd see the usual sulking child, making note of it and saying, "Be safe," before leaving. When do you get picked up? I have to bike home. Or I have to bike back. Oh, me too. Want to stay for a bit then? Fitcher opened her notebook and invited Finch to doodle with her to kill some time. I'm not a very good drawer. Artist? Drawer? That's a new one. Try. It'll be cool, he said, shoving a pencil into the grip of Finch. Halfway between the actions, it registered that she touched her hand. It was incredibly soft and warm. She'd been correct. In that moment of realization, she snapped her hand back, looked guilty. Did I do something? No, Finch picked up the pencil that had been thrown, sat back down, touching shoulders with Fitcher, who was now uncomfortably aware of the smell of her own sweat. She began to draw a vague animal listlessly, each movement conservative. It was somewhat mammalian, perhaps dog-like. Fitcher laughed at the funny little guy. Finch watched Fitcher laugh, unmoved. It's a little cute dog. Maybe it's a skunk. What was that supposed to be? A badger. A badger. I was close. Come on. Badger, skunk. Same animal. Come on. I can see it. I can see it. Me too. You wanna see how to draw one like me? Here, watch. Teacher began to draw her magnum opus, the total sum of every day of every year she had lived so far, the accumulation of lifetimes of knowledge and products of her environment, all coalescing into something she would consider very, very important. Gotta show off. Fincher watched each movement, or Fincher? Fincher? That's the ship, that's the ship name. Fincher. Or is it Pitch? Pitch or Fincher? Finch watched each movement, each muscle, each finger and hand flick and swipe. Anticipation grew into anxiety, and anxiety turned into pressure, making each of Fincher's strokes carry a weight that if she messed up, she would die and the entire world would explode. Well, that's what Finch wants to happen, right? So she should mess up. After a painful, silent, and gusty some odd minutes, a mediocre badger was born on the page. A little harsh. It's definitely a lot of pressure when someone's just watching over you drawing. That is a good badger. He flipped the notebook onto her stomach, facing outwards, and stared right into Finch's eyes, waiting for a response. A specific kind of response. You guys want to see? Okay, let me show you. This is how to draw a badger the Kurai way. How I drew a badger. Where is it? Did I find it? Kinda funny. Just reminded me of that time I drew a badger. If I could find it. If I can't find it, oh well. Here it is. A friend of mine asked me to draw a badger, design like a human. Design a character based on a badger. This is what I came up with. This is my badger. I think it speaks a lot to my style, so I like it. Very plain and simple. Anyway, let's get back to Pitcher's badger. Oh. No. The game crash? Didn't save in a long time. Showed my badger. That's fine, we can skip to where we were before. Although we can't actually. Supposed to be able to skip red dialogue, but I guess this RenP is programmed a little differently. I cannot skip this dialogue. Like you can see on the top left, I'm trying to skip, but I can't. Or maybe it's because I crashed. There we go. Over there, let me save. For a specific response. I like the little transition here. It's really nice. Finch tilted her head as a copied gesture from somewhere as she spoke. This was a great response, but not the one Fincher, I keep on saying. Not the one Fincher anticipated, but was what she wasn't. Wait. This was a great response, but not the one Fincher anticipated, but what was she anticipating? What did she want? It was the same thing that she wanted when she watched Fitcher wander inside in the morning. What was it? Fitcher damned God for making her socially dense in particular ways. She looked inwards while constructing a thank you in her throat. She wanted a hug, physical thank you. She wanted specifically to be touched by Finch in a non-accidental way. Thank you. You look exhausted. You should tell her that. Bitch. No, you should tell Finch that, Fitcher. You look exhausted. Fitcher was dumbfounded by her own revelation that she had felt, but not known. Can you draw me? Finch noticed the sun started to go down. Ah, never mind. See you tomorrow. She stood up abruptly, put on her backpack and waved at Fitcher, bending her body as if pretending to not be seen, emoting a small, concise, hidden wave, all without moving a single part of her face. She remains unmoved. Fitcher, still lost in thought, waved back slowly, presently enamored by the girl she had hit in the head with a tour several hours prior. What did it all mean, she thought. The world was no longer going to end. She had saved it. Great discovery made that would save all mankind. All bottled up inside the girl named Fitcher. What was Finch? Steadily, less and less kids hovered around the front of the school. The sun had now fully set over Fitcher. She sat still, tapping her hands and fingers across her skirt and book bag, staring forward with no intention of looking, lost in self-prescribed melancholia, dying of hate and boredom, waiting. It's outside of an ugly brick building that housed both elementary and middle school students, was starting to gain an appeal, a place where she had spent a third of her awake life, all without intention or will, waiting for something to happen, waiting to be picked up, spoken to, heard, seen, recognized, conferred some form of something, be given substance, had finally rewarded her patience. Waiting for something to happen. That something was Finch. Finch is waiting for something to make her feel. The air stopped moving and Fitcher was now alone in a new set of thoughts again. What was this her purpose? Was Finch a great something to be gained? What does Finch think of me? Her only friend so far? The words "so far" repeated in her head. She chewed on her nails, her stare unbroken, forward, and brows furrowed. I have to be the only one, she thought. Her chest was airy and in flames, driven with a purpose to be touched, to be wanted, and the only one desired. As a friend, of course. Put her hand on her chest, limp-wristed, miming declaration. Eyes closed. She thought about the way Finch smelled until she unlocked her bike, sitting under the school's dim sodium street lamps that were covered in moths and crickets humming. That night Fitcher dreamed of hunting and cigarettes, spotted porch lights getting in the way of whatever she was tracking, but offering a warm and dry bed if she ever felt like giving up. The next morning, she left before her mother, her heart raced and eyes wide. Chapter 2. I hope the Fincher, yeah, that's the ship name. I hope the Fincher ship sails, We're rooting for her. They got this. The city they lived in had one school branch. A drink of water, that is. You're sober here. Okay. The city they lived in had one school branch, a connected elementary and middle, and then a high school not too far off from the center network of angry people in little cars, all wishing death on another as they crossed from work to home, all perpetually, never truly growing up. They never stopped being children, covered in creases, welts, furrows, skin tags, tumors, awful children, schoolgirls, but children all the same because there is no way to live other than as a child. It is the default state of man. Surely, really. The author, I think, Carthage was his name, right? Definitely likes his lists. They're good lists, though. A good examination, Citra thought to herself, looking out of her bedroom window. She had always been alone. It wasn't her fault she had been born an unlovable child. She had been saved by a midwife's quick thinking. Her mother made her body wrap a cord around her neck in utero. Animation. People looked at Fitcher weird, as if she was an insect, a worthless slug with nothing to offer. A short power stunt in a neighboring district's elementary school where she grew up left with her sense that she could be a leader, a son for other people to follow. Through her words and actions they would inspire and incite others to doing what she felt fit. When she had to move between 5th and 6th grade, she lost any amount of sway. Magic in her words vanished, and she was left stranded, watching others, interjecting into their conversations, slowly in her head. Many quips, rebuttals, aphorisms, and great wisdoms were slowly heard by her in the confines of her own imaginary pomegranate garden. Entire lifetimes passed and went, watching everyone else get together, laugh, ignite each other's passions, and drive them towards becoming full humans. She viewed herself as different and special, a treasure that had not yet been found. Genius untapped by never trying and afraid of starting, only then to lose the title of would-be genius. She had been told by teachers that she had potential if she just tried. Counselors would pull her out of class, worried that she would commit some grave act, as nothing is more dangerous than a strange kid left to their own devices, with no one to speak to. She would wake up to a house of roaches, broken windows, and a mother incapacitated and by exhaustion in a mix of prescribed drugs. Dialogue with her mother was one-sided, brief and infuriating. Her mother would vegetate just like she did, couch locked in her own head, unable to perceive the outside world outside of the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Her father hadn't visited home ever since they moved out of his apartment a few years ago. Divorced parent. Mankind had abandoned Fitcher for each of their individual needs and wants. She simply was not wanted. She assigned herself the title of damned and waited for something to happen. She never became bitter. She chose instead to live a life of inactivity and fence-sitting, comfortably agreeing and totally forgettable. It's a mask, huh? But these aren't animal people. It's actually a mask. Each night was ended with a TV dinner, and hours spent looking outside windows. She liked to make herself feel bad. Pitcher compared herself to great martyrs, patiently and willingly suffering for a greater cause. At some point she thought she ought to be rewarded. Rewarded for doing nothing? Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like I can relate a lot to Fitcher. Fitcher felt like it was too late in her academic and social career to make friends. She'd wait until she moved out of town. Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. That's definitely... maybe that's probably a common feeling. She'd wait until she moved out of town, then she'd put on her true persona. She'd be likable, courteous and kind, and intelligent, and hardworking. Ugly duckling, to be coveted. I think this is something that a lot of people who are making their way to college or something can relate to. It's like, you feel like you can't be yourself at home with your parents and stuff. You know? At some point, yeah. Later, this world was just not made for me. Okay. Read that as if it was one sentence. At some point, yeah. Later. This world was just not made for me. Till now. Pitcher rolled in her bed tightly, holding a yellow pillow. Infatuated, rocking back and forth, living in daydreams as the smell of rain lulled her to sleep, free from her own bastardized images of herself. I like to call this feeling, it's not exactly the same feeling, but it's like paralyzing sense of hopelessness, you know? Because you're just stuck in this form of waiting for things to change, for things to happen, for something to, like this visual novel says, you know, waiting for you to be rewarded for putting up with your own feelings. That night she dreamt of being held in between the arms and breasts of a girl who looked very similar to Finch. They spoke of marriage, children, and where they wanted to live. Bonding over one another, their hearts calm, imbued with equanimity as they locked pale limbs and honey-hued shoulders. Hands resting on each other's juvenile breasts in passionate recognition. She woke up feeling warm and vaguely loved, but couldn't remember what she dreamt about. She saw a roach on top of the microwave in the morning, moving its antennas in a way that was overtly human. Sometimes she'd wished bugs were more sentient so they could feel real fear in the moments before she killed them. She squished its head with her fingers. Ew. Maybe this one used to be human too. Chapter 3. It would be really sad if Finch doesn't show up, like now. But she couldn't have moved in just a day's time, right? That'll be brutal. Pitcher waited, sitting by the side of the front school door like a dog. You're already developing a strong codependence. She imagined what it'd be like if she had a tail. Would it make her body language more readable? Would Finch's tail look like... Or what would Finch's tail look like? Maybe a badger's? Would it wag for her? She pulled her legs into her chest and sat even more like a dog, imagining herself with fangs and fur, patiently waiting for her purpose. Walked through the double metal doors. I'd recognize her. Yes. Yes, you do exist. I see you, and you are my reason for entering these doors. If you did not exist, I would not come. I would not move. I would not wake up and continue. Put her legs down and put her hands on her sides when a teacher entered. Embarrassed, caught up in her head, not realizing she was performing a monologue with all the mannerisms attached. Mouth moving words without speaking. A fool. Here she is. Eventually, Finch walked through the door, Pitcher's face glowing when she locked eyes with her. The act of asking for waiting together was the only thing that Pitcher understood so far. She looked at Finch. 1 second. I did not expect this to be so dialogue heavy. It's really good dialogue, don't get me wrong. But it's a lot. 1 second. Just need to fix something real quick. Okay. What did she have to offer? Thought kept her up the night before a bit. What could secure Finch as her own? Came to no conclusions. She felt like a parasite. Here, let's lock arms so we don't get lost. Fantastic excuse. They walked hitched, hip to hip, naive as a pervert read, and flustered. She tripped over her words, small talk turned, spike traps and dialogue options carrying true weight. An invisible heart flew above Finch's head. With each wrong answer, and with each failed read of her still muted face, it grew to shrink. The side of Finch's arm constantly brushed and pushed against Finch's breast. Truly, God loved her. Finch pretended not to notice. Instead, she would look up and count how many vinyl panels were missing from the ceiling. She wasn't confused or flustered. This was a practiced awkward gesture. Bells rang and lectures went unheard till they sat in the cafeteria eating. QS. Do you talk to anyone else? Oh no. That's a bad. Oh no. It's a bad one. Bad question. No, not really. Why? There's just something about people I don't really get. I don't know what it is, but they don't want to be near me. It's like I've tried, but after enough time, people more or less just push me away. It's like they purposely wipe their memory of me after enough interactions. Am I weird? I really don't know what I'm doing wrong. She bit her tongue and thought about a future where she couldn't see Finch, making herself upset. I don't think you're weird. I don't think you're weird. Not yet. Finch tilted her head to try to convey that she was joking. Pitcher missed the cue. Finch just looked around or just looked confused. A failed mistress. Caused by muted body language and a dry joke. She felt a little bit worse. And for what? She didn't know why she was thinking about the end of something she barely knew. This is a lot of reading. Definitely where's the voice? Okay. It just made her lose her appetite for a few seconds, looking down and sulking. I'm choking. Finch stood up, stretched, and leaned down and picked up her tray. Milk unopened. Pitcher in that moment cut over herself and picked the carton out of the tray. What if milk was called... never mind. Called what? What does that mean? Pitcher shrugged. They headed outside, matching steps. The air was cold today. They sat instead on the edge of their world, the swing set bordering the limits of the fence, overlooking the joint elementary school. A wave of panic set over Pitcher. Are you gonna move again? I don't know. Each time after enough time, my dad says, we're staying here for good this time. Or we're staying here this time for good. And within a few weeks, he gets assigned somewhere new. He doesn't even risk saying it anymore. Never explains why. Do you feel alone? I wouldn't say I do. I feel like it's something else. I think I know what you mean. Like a want? A longing, right? No, it's more like I want to feel needed somewhere. Important? Necessary. Like if I die, the world surrounding my body will collapse. Will collapse. I think you're needed. I'm not suicidal, but thanks. Were you needed before you moved? Don't think so. Nobody calls me. I don't call them first. You gotta be the one to call first. Make them need you. You know? Why? You probably forgot me already. That's the nature of those who leave. I thought that was the case. Sometimes they're thinking the same thing, you know? I don't know. I'll eventually figure it out. Finch tried to tear up. She clenched her fists against her legs. She bit the bottom of her lip and quivered dry. A lead weight sank into Fincher. Keep on saying Fincher. A lead weight sank into Fincher's body. Couldn't move. She heard her own heartbeat course through her head. All thoughts became muted. Looking at Finch, who was trying to control her breathing, foggy-eyed and remembering. A gentle wind and a handful of leaves sent a chill into her spine, and lifetimes of inherited emotional wisdom pulled her arms around Finch, patting her head, making shushing sounds, pretending not to be each other, strangers, recipient, and sender. An eternity and a few minutes passed, and the world around them reopened. Finch rubbed her eyes against Fincher's. There was no excitement, only guilt. Birds called. Nobody cried. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. My bad. Here, let's walk back. Bell's gonna ring. Fincher extended her arm, waiting for her to wrap hers around. I can feel what you're doing, Fincher. Finch looked routinely disinterested, but not dismissive of the touching. No smile, no grimace, anger, discontent, annoyance, acceptance, or the like. No emotion was present. The words, or her words, an observation, told as a half joke. What? It began to rain. Finch would make herself needed. Yeah, that's what I said. You can't force it though, you know? If you don't want to, you don't want to. Chapter 4. Physical education damned. There's no education in it. But for real though, why is it called physical education? How about that airplane food? 1 second actually. Need to use the restroom. Be right back. I'll leave you on the chapter 4 screen. Need a... Hold on. God. Overlapping audio. There we go. It crashed again? Man, this game... Why does it keep crashing? It's just a Renpy game. What about it makes it crash? Like they messed up the coding somehow. I don't know. It's fine, but it's not too big of a deal. But yeah, no. Okay, chapter 4. Let's save before it crashes again. And my screen. Yeah. Okay, we'll be right back. Oh, alright. Welcome. Well, was that a breastfeeding? That's fine. It was a Fincher's daydream of her, nestling with Fincher. Anyway, yeah, be right back. Okay. Hello, hello. We're back. Welcome to the stream, Nemraka. Let me... There we go. Physical education be damned, no education in it. I guess they teach you how to play sports. Otherwise, I don't think I would have bothered to learn how to play basketball. I'm not even sure I really understand how to play basketball even. Still. The routine of having to change clothes in front of others, sweating overzealous, former rejected draft, dodging nuts. Little men with big egos, who through a pure failure of checks and luck are in charge of making sure that me and each student. It's so hard to read, especially with this because it's just black on white and black. It's like, okay. The routine of having to change clothes in front of others, sweating overzealous, former rejected draft dodging nuts. Little men with big egos, who through a pure failure of checks and luck are in charge of making sure that me and each student gains a lifelong aversion to both health and authority. Yeah, that sounds like gym, alright. PE and sweating are all too much. Could have implemented that better. Guess it's a style they're calling for. Like if this text was in the bottom half of the screen instead of the top, it would have been better, but you know. Okay, let's try to read all this without struggling too hard. I usually opt out of whatever the given thing is, choosing instead to walk laps and have imaginary dialogue in my head with hypothetical people about how hypothetical things, running only when a coach is looking, pressing at each clumsy stride until they swap their attention to something or some other slacker. I'm honestly that bad. It depends. I was a fatso and I thought PE was pretty cool. Embarrassing due to my own physical feelings. Yeah, fallings. Yeah, I felt that way too. I guess if you have like a bad PE teacher. My PE teachers were nice. But I can see this happening if you have like a bad PE teacher. Yeah, my PE teachers were always nice. A giant Technicolor cloth was splayed out across the floor. What am I, a child? I haven't seen one of these in years. I mean, you are though. These are like, I'm pretty sure Fitcher is a middle school student. It's preteen. It's pretty much a child. Yeah. Definitely intentional. Thunder rumbled and the sound of percussive metal echoed through the halls. Walking up the cafeteria gym. Wind pushed through the edges of the doors. The smell of wet dirt hung pleasantly. Coach blew his whistle from the far side of the cafeteria, in front of the stage, shorter than the steps that led up to it, shouting at the group of kids, telling them to go get changed and ready. The day felt different. Underneath the parachute, I saw her without shoes. Oh, no shoes? It's hot. Two walked into the girls' bathroom with the rest of them. When it's like this, it's not too bad. It's just the gym screen was like really hard to read. But this is fine. The two walked into the girls' bathroom with the rest of them. The only two people that existed in their world were themselves. All of the others abstracted into vague interpretations of people. A total focus on how each was seen by the other. Nobody else existed. No one else spoke. The others reduced to breathing meat obstacles, existing only in flesh, nothing more. Telepathy was nothing, or telepathy would be lost on everyone else but on Fitcher and Finch. Let me save just in case. One thing that I find too bad is I don't think there is a way to hide the text. Like, it's as if there's no button to usually there's a button to hide the text, but it's as if the text is part of the screen or background. I don't know. Like I want to like here. I want to see the art. Well, I guess you can see the art in the next dialogue, but sometimes I just want to see the art, but I can't. Okay. Fitcher snapped into gym shorts and a blank white t-shirt. Deliberate and precise practice set of movements. Not a second of skin shown, even to the walls. Finch faced the walls and fumbled with her set of gym clothes, not turning back to see if Fitcher was looking in her direction. Fitcher took her own hint and stared down at her worn pair of sneakers and listened instead. She heard the sound of fabric moving. Images in her head had to be reality. She followed the rules of movies and looked into the sink mirrors towards Finch and saw her back. Pale, supple back. Supple back. It's an interesting. I never thought of a back to be supple. She imagined putting her hands on her hips and just holding them there. The long fluorescent bulbs flickered. Finch turned around, t-shirt and dolphin shorts on, seeing if Fitcher had gone back out yet. Fitcher's face was red, cutting back down at her shoes. Finch cut under into her line of sight, waving her hand over Fitcher's eyes from under. Hey, hey. Is that just a pile of shoes? When they walked out with the rest of the class, they walked around and picked even spots around the giant rainbow tarp. Coach had us take off our shoes and line them up by the door. I like the graphic for the shoes. I don't understand why, but it was alright with me. Finch followed when Fitcher kicked off her shoes into the corner, but carried them there instead. Delicate walk, placing no weight in each step, like she was being carried. Fitcher watched each soft football, reading her legs, how they moved. How frail and dainty. How did these legs carry such an important person? She was weightless, and her back a perfect arc as she placed them down. It was as if she was performing for an audience. A deliberately choreographed set of moves to showcase everything she was, everything Fitcher wanted. As a friend, of course. Yeah, of course. He started fluttering the tarp up and down, the class collectively confused as to why they were doing something they hadn't done in years, but accepting that it was better than running. What is this? I've never done this. Fluttering the tarp up and down? What is this activity? Yeah, I've never done this before. In my PE class, anyway. The tarp started taking shape above them. They grabbed the edges and ducked under. Huh. Fitch's face was painted with Technicolor, staring directly at Fitcher. Waiting for something, directionless and unknowing, unreadable. Her legs were tucked under her body, sitting slanted sideways towards Fitcher. She looked at Fitcher, still with some form of intent. Fitcher couldn't figure out what kind of intent. He had no response. An answer was never spoken to a question never asked. They did not stop watching each other as the parachute deflated. Glass ducked out from under and grabbed the edges and fluttered it back into shape again. What is this? You just keep fluttering it up and then going in, go out, flutter it up again. Weird. And again they sat, watching, waiting for something. Fitcher watched how Finch's legs would move, noting their curves and lengths. How everything about her that she could see was unobstructive and bordering on perfection. Finch continued to move closer each time the parachute went up and down. Her classmates staged hands for a play that was going on in front of them without words unknowingly. The bell rang. They changed quickly, paying each other no mind, half naked and exhausted from the invisible game. Does she want to touch me? Fitcher thought. Am I me to her? While Finch wasn't looking, she grasped her own face. Hot. They walked to the next class together, lightly brushing each other into the lockers under the guise of one-sided roughhousing and friendly banter. Fincher felt her heart race and stopped looking upwards, counting ceiling tiles, opting instead to do something else. She didn't dislike it. Fincher is starting to smile, finally. Warming up. Chapter 5. They are, however, developing perhaps a terrible codependence on one another. But we'll see what happens. They sat in each other's company outside again, underneath dimly lit gray skies, touching shoulders, scribbling on a notebook that they had only been consciously doodled in, sparse with words, scribbled, falling asleep scattered around, underlines and random marks and notes on due dates. Call me, please? Alrighty. As she starts to draw, staring at the shapes, planes and light that make up Finch's face, the word love comes to mind, or comes to the front of her thoughts, unflustered and determined to draw. Unflustered and determined to draw both and solve the problem she's known ever since she watched her yesterday. Future doesn't make her thoughts readable. It is simply a thought isolated sequence of checks that brought up the word, exasperated by a sense of want. A want to be held, to hold, to touch and be touched. A mutual contract of mutual contact. There was something more. I do like this author's use of like lists, because he uses lists a lot. Her hand moved robotically, each mark intentional to the best of her ability, only looking down to make sure the pencil was still moving. She saw the outline of light. Of her nose, how her chin and head made a perfect ideal winsome shape, a mutual contract that I touched as she touches. Does she want to touch? I've known her for 2 days. Her heart fluttered, her face still furrowed and concentrated. Is this love? Do I like this person? She couldn't recall someone else receiving her in this way. Finch was affection itself, beyond tolerance and meandering. Finch was affection itself, beyond tolerance and meandering in social games where people speak in half-truths. Finch was honesty. Finch was sincerity, sanctity, a perfect person. Picture outlined the shape of Finch's hair, leaving out holes where the light passed through. Finch started to move, no longer a statue, and pressured by a penetrating gaze that looked beyond her, outlined every feature, good or bad. What do I ask? Picture couldn't find the answer because she didn't know the question. Her hand kept moving. She felt uneasy, incomplete, bothered by the inability to properly come to any sort of conclusion other than deep-rooted desire. Actually, let me save here first, so before it crashes again. I should probably link this game in the description. That would be a good idea. After all, I do need to give credit to the developer. Their name on itch.io is Dogmask. Dogmask, yeah. But their Twitter handle is Carthage. How do I change description? Okay. CHIRK. Okay. It is in the description. Proper credit. She just draw a badger. She made some final marks on the page and showed it to Finch. I like this a lot. It looks just like me. It's the same drawing of the badger yesterday, except it's on a human body. Teacher was looking at how her lips didn't curl. She spoke monotonously. How her freckles sat still and the way she carried herself while speaking. There were no flaws. There was nothing except pure, hushed elegance. Wanna draw me? She handed over the notebook, looking past Finch, behind her, still ruminating. She had spent years disassociating with everything. Dissociating with everything. To walk without intent and pursue nothing with meaning. Everybody was simply too far away. Falsehoods of kindness, insincerity, and deceit were all part of the games that other people played. Everybody was afraid of each other, and social groups were entirely built on tolerability. There were definitely a lot of social groups in school where it definitely was built on tolerability, I feel. You saw adults play the same game, their teachers complaining about administration, administration complaining about teachers, janitors chipping their cents in, her mother's blaming her father saying, staying past his welcome to try and help raise the kid. Yeah, I think even beyond school, such relationships continue. She felt like Finch was incapable of playing the game. Finch was weird in the same way, different. She thought about telepathy. She moved a little closer. She moved a little bit closer. To give you a better look. Of course. If she could read her mind, she would know if she was weird in the same way. She prayed to God in her mind, subtly clasping her hands together to ask for a gift of this moment, to experience what Finch sees, what she experiences. What is her act of being like? How else would she know if she was weird, unconventional, odd? Asking isn't experiencing, and hearing isn't listening. She needed more. God didn't respond. Are you weird? What? Are you like different? What do you mean? People look you in the eyes. Only you. Strange. In a good way. Love. Love. Minutes of embarrassment from her own thoughts. And the internal ignition of a great engine brought Fitcher to be unable to keep looking towards Finch or sit still. Wait, I'm almost done drawing you. Oh yeah, you thought? I forgot, she said. Here, look. Ah, that's a really good one. The drawing was a good try. The notebook was more valuable than gold. Was now more valuable than gold. Oh wow. This is fantastic. I want to kiss her. Fitcher thought. Freckles, sweat, pencils. ESP, lead. Chapter 6. She parked her bike on the edge of the rented 2-bedroom house, whose new paint was beginning to peel, and walked inside, met with an intense smell of dog piss. Red is a good dog. A little dog jumped onto her legs, bobbing up and down with each step. Further she took into the house, knocking over a baseball bat. By the door, the little dog jumps went unacknowledged. It was as if the dog wasn't even there. Finch looked forward, determined to follow an invisible routine. She placed her backpack in a particular spot, carefully took off her shoes, and placed them in a particular way. She walked into the kitchen. Her socks became wet. She didn't move her foot, looking down, staring at the puddle instead, and the reflection it gave. Gross. The dog looked up with loving. I love this dog. He's the best boy. The dog looked up with loving eyes. She opened the back door and let the dog out. She threw paper towels on the dog piss and walked back to the living room and sat on the couch, holding her hands in her lap. Yeah, someone else's problem. What's she gonna do with her sock though? She didn't take it off. So quiet, she can hear the refrigerator is on. She listens to herself breathe. She raffles through unpacked cardboard boxes in her room, taking things out and lining them up neat rows and columns as she looked for a specific book. A yearbook with phone numbers, names and addresses, farewell messages, I love yous, and I love yous. She thumbs to the back and walks to the house phone. She picks up and holds her finger over the number pad, shaking. A dial tone rings throughout the walls. She finally gonna try and be the first one to call back, or yeah, make contact with her former classmates. Oops. Oh, you can hide the text. It's the middle mouse button. Weird. Okay. That is super helpful. Why is it the middle mouse button? That's so weird. It's like no, and I'm pressing. Oh, I am muted. Whoops. When did I get muted? Whoops. How long have I been muted? I don't think it was too long, right? Basically, Finch is home doing her daily routine, but today she decided to do something a little different and tried to call one of her old classmates, I guess. She made note of it earlier in the game that she never is the first one to call. But I guess now she decided to try. Good high text. I must have pressed. Oh, I must have been pressing keys to see what else. What other button hides the text. Turns out the H button works too, which is a weird button. I guess H for hide kinda makes sense, but it's not common. Sounds like her dad is a bit paranoid. She thinks someone is listening in on him, and he doesn't want her touching the phone. That might be defaults. I don't think H isn't default on Renpy usually. Like, usually it's the space button or maybe the shift button. Well, A also brings up this screen for some reason, and that's not normal either. So, weird. Game's a little weird. Especially middle mouse button. Middle mouse button is never the hide button, I don't think. Finch, you need to stop touching the goddamn telephone. Your mother's listening in on us. Her and her CIA buddies. You know I can't disconnect it or else they'd send someone over here. He leaned over and whispered in air quotes. There are ghosts here, Finch. All around. Waiting for me to fuck up. Do you want that to happen? Do you want Daddy to go away? She probably does. Her father spat on the floor, frustrated at himself for getting upset. Bad to the bone. Great shirt. Hitcher's father, Michael, was always red and disheveled, but never drunk. He didn't smoke neither. Or neither. Do you say neither or neither? I usually say neither. I don't know. Neither? Either or. He moved to a different town every time he heard the word envelope on the radio. What the? What is that? What does that have to do with anything? Okay, so her dad is a freak. Some weird conspiracy theorist, I think, or something. He listened every day to AMs and FMs. Short waves, long waves, hams and all. People said that he had angels in his head. He viewed himself as a martyr, rivaling the apostles in his own divine campaign against demons in 3-letter agencies. His only marriage failing after being committed by a judge. How did this guy get custody? Yeah. For real. Oh. His wife would be found dead 3 days into his stay at a mental hospital. Her death pronounced a suicide with 2 bullets in the back of her head and 38 stab wounds. Well, that's what happened, yeah. Jesus. 38 stab wounds? Suicide? That seems excessive and unlikely, right? Maybe that's why he became a conspiracy theorist. But he thinks his wife is listening on him. But no, he was in a mental hospital when this happened, so he was already crazy. Normal kappa? Yeah. Just like Jeffrey. 38 stab wounds, 2 bullets in the back of her head too? That's even more unlikely. Zockton. Oh, welcome, Zockton. The Outlander. Nice art. Yeah, the story is really interesting. I like the writing. The writing is like really nice. Very, very well worded. I think this guy does make cool art. That's how I found out about this in the first place. He's in an art server I'm in. Artist server I'm in. They talked about his game. Anyway, let's continue. The dog scratched the back door, wanting to be let back inside. Finch's father jumped and shouted, "Get the hell off my doorstep." Damn dog. He lit up a cigarette and locked himself in his room. Finch stepped outside. Oh, the dog has a body now. I love this. This dog is so good. The best thing in the game so far. She walked to the far end of the backyard behind unfenced garbage bins. The dog ran up to her, wagging his tail. She lifted up her hand and closed it. She swung her fist down on the side of the dog's head. Oh god. Finch. She didn't move any other part of her body while beating the dog as best she could without being caught. Neither smiling or crying or in frustration. She simply hit the head or hit the side of the dog's floppy ears and pinned it still. This poor dog. Jumped and shouted. Why is she beating up this poor dog? Her father didn't hear the dog's yelping. When it stopped crying, she picked up the dog and threw it back inside. She poured food in its bowl and cleaned its water, putting in ice cubes. Ice cubes in the dog's water? Weird. She kneeled by the food and water, holding a treat in her hand, out, calling his name softly and monotonously, shaking the treat meekly. She's got some issues. Felt very stupid that morning for shaming herself over daydreams of... She felt very stupid that morning, shaming herself over daydreams and perceptions of Finch solely seen and experienced in her own head. Embarrassment and awkwardness set in. She tried not to show it. Fisher too? Hope not. Foreshadowing. All of it passed when Finch walked through the doors. Days followed and followed again. A great nothing had happened between them. A mere pleasant existence. Ineffable suspension of the world between the two as cordial friends. One who happened to blush at unintentional touching. A pressure started to build around the small little burn in Fitcher's small little body. It wasn't enough. She wanted more time, more things to do, conversations to be built on and developed. She wanted to take Finch home. Red skies hung themselves over iron hills. Sounds of traffic and wails of a dying city were audible from the new metal front gates of the old brick school. Children played around chicken wire fences, and stones, grass, and footsteps brushing against it. Sounds of play and lives, not yet lived, paraded themselves throughout the hour after the final bell rang. I sat next to Fitcher, my shoulder locked in place, skimming hers, waiting for a moment where she would break her glances and look away so I could ask a question conspicuous with intent. A contract for hours, secluded and alone with her. Her face soft and flowery, a prize to be contained and held, a person to be held by and loved, a fawn, to be carelessly and hopelessly, shamelessly loved, infatuated, and smothered. This wordsmith. Just the word salad of like synonyms and stuff. I don't know. I like it though, I like it. I like the lists. Finch looked forward, waiting for a return she would always hesitatingly accept. Sounds like a paper though. Like a paper I would write to fill, space. Wanna come over later? Sure. Her thin arms bearing a shapeless shape-blindness that inspired action. Her very thin arms covered by a knitted wool sweater, pawing invisible songs on her lap, asking questions that carried more substance than my life could ever hope to produce. I was agonizingly infatuated with the girl who accepted me into her presence. Very poetic, though. Pitcher forgot that her house was rotting as the words left her mouth. Meat. Ideally, a mutual meat biting. Pitcher and Finch sat in a secluded area after many of the kids had left. The sound of decaying machinery hummed. Air conditioner fans pulsed? What is that word? Pulsed? I don't know. I've never seen that word. The calls of pigeons and doves, insects and bugs. Why don't you talk to anyone else? I don't. You only speak when spoken to around others. You do the same, don't you? I have very specific reasons. Why don't you? I don't know. Shy? No. I think you might be shy. Afraid. What are you afraid of? People? No, not people. I'm afraid of what happens if I make myself too needed. What about me? A goal. A trial? A trial is too dehumanizing. Maybe, though, for a while at least. She tried talking to another person, but her dad got in the way. What's the opposite of need? Unneed? Do you unneed me? Want. Desire. So you want me. Weird way of putting it. So you want me to want you. So you feel needed? Sounds correct. Tell me your biggest secret then. I don't have one. No way. What is this song? It's got lyrics? All the gardens were out to make out. It's the best way to show that you're needed, right? All the gardens were sprouting with flowers and all the treetops were bursting with birds, and all the people knew that the year was over. They all laid down on all their airs, and hung up their tiresome words and tiresome dreams and tiresome passions for another time. The entire town let out a collective sigh, anticipating for the season of rain and heat and humidity to come and stop all human life. All twisted metal stretching upwards, all pointing their little hands smelling of rust upward into the sky. It was time to be another creature, patiently waiting for Christmas. Christmas? What is it, November? We all know everyone starts waiting for Christmas when it's November. So like, I was like walking back from university, and some people already have, or at least one person already has Christmas decorations up. It's amazing. Two girls rode fishtail with one another, the short one riding behind the tall one, both bikes used and fitted with spare parts and rusted chains. Pitcher's bike had a stolen handbasket zip-tied to the front, a brand name scratched off and spray painted over. What a hoodlum. Little thief. They moved in and around deliberately ruined streets, neglected buildings, horrible transformations with good intentions from former Sunday school valedictorian. Pitcher rode behind Finch, letting out flurries of one-sided giggles every time she almost fell over from hitting roadkill. Ohs or abrupt breaks. The sun pierced through the treetops in milky pain. In this Halloween night. Right after store closed, overnight people started. Oh, they're on that. They are on point with that. For real, for real. Like, especially the stores. Big gulp. What is this song? It's like... gives me like Indian vibes for some reason, you know? They are authorized persons in government suits picking dog teeth out of the ground, packing them into suitcases on their way to the corner store. Men born without names or teeth smoked outside of the 7-Eleven. They walked their bikes inside. They brought what they could afford and put it into a backpack. The sun shined. Arabic? Yeah, I could see that too. I feel like they have a similar vibe in music. They had nowhere to go. Teacher didn't want to go home. There was no reason to. Her house, an active embarrassment. She'd put it off for as long as she could in desperate concealment. They sat beneath a billboard instead. The sign read, Repent, Mark 1, 15. Surrounded by flames. They continued sitting, neither bored or entertained. They simply sat in silence, eating salt. Waylaying each other when they started to speak. People walked by in strange suits and unmarked cars. Eating salt? Chips? Potato chips? Basically are eating. Is that an Arizona can? Look at that. That is 99 cents? Yeah, that's an Arizona can if I've ever seen one. Got the ginseng leaves, 99 cents label on it. Tall can. It's definitely Arizona. Yeah. Arizonas are the best. Further down, I like the brown Arizona. I don't know what it's called, but the brown one is really good. Further down the road, they watched the machine dig up dirt in a taped off part of the street. Lead. They're digging up lead and replacing the dirt. Is that the half and half stuff? Half and half? I don't know. Half and half. I don't think so. Still tea, I think. Haven't had Arizona tea in a long time. Me neither, actually. Don't see. Well, I think. Yeah, they're still selling it here. Just haven't gotten it in a long time. I'm like passing on sugary drinks in general anyway, so I can't do sugary drinks anymore. At least I shouldn't. You're taking up lead and replacing it. How'd you figure? They did it to my house when I was little. Said it came from the smelting place nearby. Used to play in that dirt a lot, but I don't really remember it. I don't think that's because of the dirt though. Finch made a noise of recognition. Used to be a big tower at the place. You could see it when you drove no matter where you were in the city. It's gone now. The city and all the mayors were gonna build a park on top. Now there's no tower, no park. Ground's all black and full of stuff. I suppose there's a good reason for it. They gated it all off. Haven't seen it in a while, neither. My mom said my great-grandpa worked there. Why'd they get rid of the tower? Said that it could fall over one day and spew carcinogens? Carcinogens? Is that how you spell carcinogens? Carcinogens? Into the air? Oh, that's how you spell it. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that's not how you spell carcinogens. Come on, Pitcher. Gotta listen in class more. But they blew it up when they demolished it. Nobody remembers what they'd say about it anyway. People just wanted to see a spectacle. That was that. No more smokestack. No more smokestack. Sucks. They'll sell them. I don't buy any. Not anymore. What do you buy then? What is your drink of choice? I love Dr. Pepper. When I do go for something sugary, Dr. Pepper all the way. She looked at Finch with a puzzled frown, feeling a distant pity. Wind ruffled matted hair. Fitcher felt delicate and alive. They overheard old men talk about their penises. One faceless suit shouted into his phone, "Is everyone here a retard?" The no-no word. 2 dogs had sex in the street. The sun started going down and Fitcher's heart got knocked out of its grove. It was time to leave. What is this conversation going on? Oh, that's not in quotes. Okay. Quotes end after the retard. Sprite. Sprite's pretty good. I'll go Sprite after Dr. Pepper. She thought about how disgusting her home was, and by extension how repulsive she felt. A repulsive, bug-bitten pervert. Took a bath every night and washed her clothes when she could and kept 2 toothbrushes. One for her, and one just in case someone ever forgot theirs. She would always talk in the opposite direction, facing away from whoever she was speaking to. Just in case, though. Tap water in her house would turn gray if she put it too hot, so she took cold baths. Would Finch take a cold bath? Would she even step foot into my house? Fitcher kept her bed warm and dry and lined the edges of her walls with borax and sugar. She thought about what Finch's room smelled like. Surely it'd be flowery. She only had 1 bed. They'd have to share, but she knew that. She wants that, probably. Keep switching between like first person and third person. It's fine though. She questioned her own intentions. What if Finch was just as depraved? She viewed love as an absolute state of being. Does she love me? The scent of budding flowers mingled and hung in the moist air. Crickets began to chatter. People slowly evaporated into doors and houses. The day was coming to an end. Are we still going to your house? Yeah. Here we go. She's coming over. Black screen? Oh. Oh, this alarm clock sound. Classic. I haven't heard this alarm in a long time. An alarm goes off in the Fitcher household. A shoddy half-lit clock reads 6:00. Who decided that all alarm clocks back in the day would have that same exact sound or something? I don't know. I feel like all alarm clocks did. A washed up former person groans, covered in stuffed animals and blankets, both too big and too small for her bed. The blonde woman, years beyond her prime, reaches above her head in an attempt to turn off the alarm, hitting both the alarm and knocking over a glass of something onto her head. Bonk. She sits up, half awake and catatonic, staring with sunken eyes forward towards a TV that hadn't been turned off for days, maybe weeks. Is this her mom? I think. Fitcher's mom. A deep breath sends the hag woman into a coughing fit. She puts on open-rimmed glasses and shambles to the bathroom. Look at that, they're just dancing in the bathtub. Little roaches in a conga line. What does that say? Applause. Oh. hitting the light on. Two yellow lights across a strip of vanity mirror flicker on, and several several families of roaches all take note, coming together and bowing in a line before ducking across under cabinets, soap bottles, and holes in the wall. The sound of a shower is heard seconds later, followed by vomiting. Oh, she doesn't have a mask on. This woman calls herself Eddie. She is 28, going on 19. Huh? She is 28, going on 19? What? That's not how that works. I don't know why so many buy it or buy into it. She looks old. She works as a waitress at a diner where everyone knows her name. All faceless regulars and people she's never seen. For 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, she serves cold coffee, microwave leftovers, warm soda, and beer. There's rumors that she outlasts all other employees because she sleeps with her boss. But he's a no-name, or he's no father of mine. She dated a doctor once. She said she was trying to get a good father to replace that no-good bum. She said she would marry the strange doctor man. Said that every child needs both parents. I only saw him once. He was naked on Papa Eddie when I got home from after school. He was choking her, hitting her, saying you better work for what you're getting, and it's nothing new for trash like you. Disgusting. I started hitting him, telling him to get off my mom. She explained to me that this was nothing. She was doing him a favor. One, to help the family by getting me a dad. Never saw him again after that. My mom started acting weird after though. Found out that was from painkillers he'd prescribed her for anxiety. Things moms try to put up with for their children. She says she still struggles with her anxiety and depression. She just sits and watches TV, drooling on herself whenever I get home now. Is this Fisher without the mask? Or is this Eddie when Eddie was younger? It looks like Eddie. Kinda, but I mean, he is Fisher's mom. Sometimes she points and laughs at me when I come home. Sometimes she pees herself. Get it together, Mom. Come on. You got a guest coming over. Sometimes I find her gripping knives and crying in the kitchen. Jeez. Eddie ties her hair into a ponytail, puts on a uniform black shirt and jeans that show her curves, and makeup that hides her age. She stops and looks into Fisher's room through an unopened door, her daughter still sleeping peacefully in a bed that she's had ever since she outgrew her crib. She tears up, picks them away, looking up, and heads out the door. The sound of an engine is heard. So I guess that was Eddie in the mirror here, right? Fisher sits up, awake, half asleep and catatonic, staring forward, seeing roaches crawl under and around a poster in her room. She leans forward and squishes on with her fingers, pressing her index into the roach on the wall. Fisher does not give a fuck. She just bare hand kills these roaches. Cheap plastic fans make unpleasant moans and creaks. Behind the bar stands a disheveled woman, or young woman, with a funny little paper hat. Eddie sits, leaning her head on her arms, the world still coming into focus, trapped in the white noise afterglow of emotional chemotherapy. What did I do to deserve this? Life is supposed to be easy. What is it this time? I looked into the mirror today, and I look like my mother. She died early, remember? Yeah. What is it this time? Just kind of feel like I missed out. Like my sister, she's in Peru now. Her rich husband just getting her this and that, taking her all around. He's an architect. Why can't I have that? I'm stuck with a kid. What's a woman to do? Why don't you just give her to her father? No. Not a goddamn chance. I'd do anything to keep her out of his hands. He still tries to call me, sending us letters, saying he wants to be a family. What a bitch boy. Hey, tell him. Get him. Honestly, I'm keeping her out of spite. She's like a cat anyways. You don't do nothing. I'll take her off your hands if you don't want her. She's a good kid. For free? Not a chance. You gotta pay me. She's my ticket to food stamps and a nice little check from the big man. Hell yeah, child support. I mean, I'll take care of her. You can go run off any day. Just drop her off here. You like him young? Jeez. You know I don't mean it that way. She's real pretty, you know. She needs a father in her life. Well, you ain't rich enough to be hers. Look at you. You're covered in grease. For some reason I think Eddie probably sounds like a southern lady. My head. When's the last time you shaved? I wouldn't fuck you in a million years talking about a father, being a father. It's just the way the text is written. Gives off southern woman vibes. She ain't gonna turn out right. Nah, she'll be fine. She'll take after me. My mother was a whore and look how I turned out. Terrible. Turned out terrible. Well, she's trying her best. Eddie's trying her best. Maybe I shouldn't say terrible. Could be worse. A freshly shaven young man with a boyish face in a parade dress uniform walked into the diner, taking off his cap and waving at the cook and Eddie. Almost curtsying before catching himself in the middle. Good morning, sir and miss. Hello, darling. How are you? I'm doing alright. Pretty dark out still, isn't it? Chilly. The young man sits at the booth near Eddie. Excuse me, sir. Could I get a coffee? Eddie stares at the cook. Yes, sir. The young man looks down at his hands, thinking, maybe pretending to not be awkward. He watches the cook pour a cold cup of coffee and put it in the microwave. This is a high-class diner. Just microwave coffee? Amazing. An army guy. What do you do for a living? She places her hands on his. Important army guy. Makes a good living, no? Well, I'm not that important. Take your time, sweetheart. I love a man in a uniform. I get by. I don't pay for rent or nothing like that, so... Ever get lonely? Not that I'm sure. I miss my mom. I got stationed far away. Just home visiting for a couple of days. Eddie places her other hand on his leg, uncomfortably close. I just realized this is a Denny's. You can see in the background. Denny's. Ever get really lonely? Wait, ever get really lonely? I think sometimes, ma'am. Cook puts down a cup of coffee in front of the two, spilling some on the table. Thank you. What the heck? Look. Ever feel like fixing that? Hey, Cooks. I gotta leave real quick. Think you can manage for some odd minutes? The cook stared at her without speaking. Eddie grabbed the uniformed boy, took him outside. The two came back about 30 minutes later. When they came back inside, they spoke about marriage and how beautiful their new home would be some odd few 100 miles away, saying out of life plans and seeing which one stuck. The cook just watched. And Eddie works quick. That's a little insight into her mom, I guess. Back to Fitcher and Finch here. Fincher, as I like to call them. Finch and Fitcher stood on the porch of Fitcher's home. Overgrown thorn bush. This is really hard. This is even worse to read than the gym text. Oh my god. Overgrown thorn bushes covered cracked windows. Sun-bleached plastic bags and cups, newspapers and soiled clothes were woven into the lattice work of the plants that choked the house. Shoes hung over electrical wires and nests of dead baby birds stood still, burnt on top of tall boxes. This is so hard to read because it's all dots in the background. They listened to the sound of electricity and dogs fighting as they stood in front of the door, neither going in, neither leaving. Pitcher held her hand on the doorknob. Sorry for the mess. In advance. Two walked inside. Eddie wasn't home yet, which was pretty unusual by this time. Pitcher had other thoughts to preoccupy worry. I am clean, I swear. I believe you. Finch stepped on a roach. She watched subtle movements, echoed in each step of peeling floors and yellowed walls. It came to a closed door, a hole patched with plywood, the door hanging only on the top hinges. A wood plaque on the door read Pitcher, written very neatly, adorned with girly images and stickers. The plaque was warped. It had been there a long time, probably written by someone else. Little smile. Written by who? Her mom or her dad? Pitcher stood in her room. Pitcher stood in her room, looking back at Finch with sorry eyes. Finch stood in the doorway, unsure of where she was allowed to sit, or where it was safe. If your friend is thinking where is safe to sit, you know that's pretty bad. What do you think? Fitting? Fitting? What does that mean, Finch? That's great to hear, says Fitcher. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. This old, decrepit house full of roaches is fitting. Okay, Finch. Pitcher sat down on the edge of the bed, waiting for her guest to come through the doors. She patted the side of her bed without clothes on it. Finch sat down. The bed bend, pushing the two together. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? There's not much to do here. Are you hungry? Not really. Fitcher was out of ideas. Finch made Fitcher's room smell amazing. It was surprisingly flowery, permeating. Finch looked around at the damp spots of mold, dust and old grime on the windowsills, corners covered in live webs and taped off outlets and rusted vents. She thought nothing of it, looked back at Fitcher. Fitcher kept her hands on her lap, looking down. Downwards, thinking. Two sat uncomfortably. Finch leaned back and laid on the bed, looking at the mica-dazzled, shifting popcorn ceiling. He was waiting for something. Waiting for Fitcher to make the move, perhaps? She stared through the ceiling. She spoke in her own head with kinetic intentions, telepathically screaming intangible entreaties that she couldn't say. Okay, let's try that. Let's play. A lot of words. This visual novel. It is a visual novel. She spoke in her own head with kinetic intentions, telepathically screaming intangible entreaties that she couldn't say, insensible wants and impressions of words she doesn't know, trying desperately to broadcast her childish self-assertion of love. She pinches Fitcher, who is now lost in thought, emotionally destitute and pitting. She wants it. Wants her to make the move. Your mom's not here, right? Oh? Fitcher understood. Finch turned her head, looking at her own reflection in the dark window. Waiting. She leaned forward, one arm each side, knees straddled over Finch. Finch kept looking away. She could hear Finch's soft and steady breath, or breathing. Finch pulled Fitcher's head into her chest and grabbed Fitcher's hand. Finch ran her fingers through Fitcher's greasy hair. Can I touch you? All of Fitcher's life tapered to a forgettable point. Fitcher held her hand over Finch's beckoned sweater, resting her hand gently, moving Finch's breast lightly. She dug her face deeper into Finch's underarm, deeply inhaling with a steady breaths. She felt like a child. I was afraid to grab her. She was so delicate. I wanted to push my entire body weight onto her. I could smell her sweat. I rose my head to kiss her, and she turned her head. She kissed my cheek, kissed hers. We were afraid of lips. It's kind of cute. She held me tightly. Her chest was soft. Put my hand under her sweater. She would do what I want, or she would do what I asked if she did what she asked. Awkward and clumsy movements. The smell of her chest was what I imagined a mother's smell. A mother's would smell like. I was afraid of being caught. I lit incense to hide the smell of my room. She tasted acidic. She ignored my bug bites and scabs. I wondered if she had me in her thought. I would hope so. The sounds of air conditioner hit our conversations. I wanted to suck on her breasts. All of the misfortunes of my tepid existence made her all the dearer to me. She called me helpless. Fell asleep in her arms. She watched me fall asleep. It was like this was her purpose. The two woke up and to the sound of heavy rain. They watched the kaleidoscope dark imprint images onto the wall. I had no thoughts. I was just warm. We enjoyed each other's company. She didn't like being naked. They sat in queer dullness. They felt like the world had been left behind. In the dark they were stranded. No one else was real. No one else was alive. Neither spoke, afraid that once they did, the world would continue spinning and the walls would begin listening. Fitcher listened to Finch breathe, feeling each inhale and exhale through the side of her body. She couldn't hear or she could hear her heartbeat. Steady, calm, red and white lights crossed back and forth, illuminating the room for moments through cracked windows. I love you. Did you hear me? Yes. Say it back. I don't know how to. Pitcher stood up and reached her hand out to Finch. They walked out of the room and into the dimly lit yellow kitchen, maneuvering through boxes overfilling with random belongings and roach motels. Roach motels. I like that. Her mother wasn't home yet still. The clock read 2:00. She watched me pour a cup of water. If I turn this on, hot, it'll turn gray. Odd. Wanna look at the stars outside? Nah, stars are gay. Stars are gay. Finch knows what's up. Fuck astrology. I like astrology. The light bulbs hummed. It is pretty gay though. Astrology is pretty gay. He woke up in the morning, entangled in one another, caked in sweat and dry spit. Her mother was lying comatose on the couch, wearing the jacket of some kind of uniform.